Hi, Trevor here, reflecting on life through music. Thank you for stopping by. Well, coming again today, you're very, very welcome. I trust you enjoyed my last video on Aussie singer-songwriter Dean Lewis, and we looked at introspectively, really, the grey areas of relationships. And there is grey in this world, so I trust you found that one encouraging. We're going there from 1956 in Seattle, Washington. Kenneth Bruce Gorlick was born. Now, this guy is one of the highest selling instrumentalists of all time, so it's good to look at this guy today. Ed Sullivan noticed him at the age of 10, and it was actually at the age of 17, when this guy was 1973, that he became part of the Barry White Love Unlimited Orchestra, the age of 17. So he was already becoming well known as a pretty amazing tenor saxophonist. But while he was doing that, he decided he was actually going to study a Bachelor of Accounting, of all things. But it was during 1975-76 that Cold, Bold and Together was formed, a bit of a group that this guy was part of. And then in 1980, the Jeff Lorber Fusion, he became part of that group, but it was going to be really, really apparent that Kenny G, who we're talking about today, was going to outgrow a group, and he needed to go onto a solo career. And in fact, Arista Records agreed with him, thanks to Clive Davis seeing him do a version of Dancing Queen, that Arista said, yep, we'll sign you up in 1982. Just prior to this, with members of the Jeff Lorber Fusion, he was already recording an album, and Kenny G got released around 1981-82, and this got to number 10 in the Billboard Jazz charts. And so Kenny G was already starting to get acknowledged and noticed for what was quite a distinctive sound. We got a live version of the shuffle of that particular album. In 1983, G-Force got released, great album title, that one of course, Kenny G, G-Force. This got to number 6 in the jazz charts, number 17 in the R&B charts, and number 62 in the R&B Top 200. Hi, how you doing? This includes vocals by Barry Johnson. This album became platinum, and here we could see a bit of departure from the strict jazz that Kenny G was part of to a little bit more hip-hop R&B. And it was great to see him starting to collaborate, and collaboration would be a massive part of Kenny G's career. He was starting to realise that sometimes songs do need vocals, and so it was good to collaborate here with Barry Johnson. In 1985, the album Gravity was released, that also went platinum. Then 1986, a very significant album, Duotones. This album got to, actually, a song off this album, Songbird, and I've got a live version below, got to number 4 on the Billboard charts. This is a very recognisable piece for Kenny G. This is kind of one of those songs that when you think of Kenny G, this is the song you think about. Inspired apparently by his girlfriend, and I think the moving from Seattle to Los Angeles to make a new start. Songbird, I've had the concept of bird actually a few times in songs. I can think of one of my favourite songs by ELO, Bluebird. And later, Jeff Lynne, in one of his later albums, My Songbird Has Come Back to Me. I think the interesting thing with songwriting, and I do dabble a little bit, I wouldn't call myself a songwriter. I mean, I have written some lyrics and some songs, but you know, I'm not going to my studio every night to write songs. It just kind of find me and I have my pen ready. But one thing I do find is that, you know, you might actually have a set of chords, and that's the music underneath the words, and you've had them for a while, and you think, right, what am I going to do with this? Where on earth are these words going to come from? Well, in my case, the words take a long time. Unless, of course, you're collaborating with someone else, which I did once, and I had a set of chords, sent them up to a girl, and 2 days later, I had these stunning words back. This is beautiful, a beautiful thing about collaboration. But I think the concept of a bird, is almost like a hope, a bit of a wish, a bit of a dream that the bird will catch a song and bring it back for you to write. It's almost like it's where our inspiration center sits. We get inspired by all sorts of things. We get inspired by life. Sometimes words just come out of the blue, which we weren't expecting. We just write them down. Because to write a song, a song, every word kind of counts in a song. There's not many lines in a song. I remember someone giving me an 11-page poem once and said, "Here, write a song." And I said, "Oh, nah." every line, every word has to count for a song to be a good song. And I think, and quite often, the songwriter is tied up with this song, and they might be reflecting on some personal experience, reflecting on a hope, reflecting on a wish, reflecting on some world event. There's always a bit of songwriter tied up with a song. But there are times, there are heaps of times with me, that when you have a set of chords, you kind of think, well, where are the words? At that point, the songbird gets released. It floats around, it flies around, and eventually it comes back and it says, "Here they are." Oh, how cool is that? And you write them down. And quite often, when you get in a bit of a flow of a song, of words, the words come quite quick. And you're able to write them down and tweak them a little bit and make them your own. Well, the great thing about Songbird from Kenny G's perspective is that there are no words here. So it's almost like he had this idea, perhaps this inspiration of love in a new place. And he thought, hey, I want to write a song about it. And so he wrote this beautiful melody. It really is quite a stunningly beautiful melody, this one, as a gift to his girlfriend. And I think tied up with this beautiful melody is a kind of a hope for him for a new future, a life of love, a life of happiness, a life of joy, perhaps a life almost of settling down a bit, but also a life of the song continuing. And this is the other thing about music, I think, particularly if you are a songwriter, and that is that, the songs very much take on your life. They become diary notes in your life, and you're like, as you look back, you think, well, gee, I was there at one point, look where I am now. And you think, and, one of the lines of my songs, the song is, "Love goes where?" Well, where it wants. As the moon, as the waves caress the shore under the moonlit sky. Where do words like that even come from? But when I got the word caress, and of course it's got to be under the moon, doesn't it? Because that's just magic. You think, well, where do those words even come from? But sure enough, they come. And I think the songbird came and nestled on my shoulder at that point. And I think Kenny G, reflecting back on this, what this would be quite a massive song for him, he's glad that Songbird came to rest, inspired by life events at the time, and that is moving to a new place to make a new start. So, philosophically speaking, we can think about, we all have a hope, we all have a wish, we all have a longing for something, and we just kind of send that wish and hope out into the universe or into God, whatever you believe in, and hoping it will come back to you at some point. With the case of songwriters, it comes back in the form of a song and a melody. So I hope that you'll send out your own songbird to actually awaken and to inspire you in your life. Very gently. Birds are gentle things, and so it comes in a whisper, in a quiet murmur. So Kenny G was on the crest of a wave at this point. He was becoming a household name. In 1989, he took release a live album, Kenny G Live. This got to number 2 in the adult contemporary charts, and so the success just kept coming. Got a live version of Going Home. Now, when I first saw that one, I thought it was that Going Home, the one that Mark Knopfler was involved in with the saxophone from Local Hero, I think it was called. Well, no, it's not that one. It's actually something different. And so what we've got is we've got a live version of that one below. Again, just as you watch this guy, the intricacy of his playing, his tone. Now, you notice at the end of every phrase, there's a bit of a bravado thing happening. This is the key to a good instrumentalist, his ability to be able to just round off his phrasing. And Kenny G does this so well. And he's almost caressing his saxophone, which is the other beautiful thing about musicians, is we don't play them, we caress them. Because we want to bring out the beauty of music. And so we've got a live version of Going Home. He was certainly collaborate with a few people, including Celine Dion, Frank Sinatra, and Michael Bolton. He contributed to a couple of soundtracks, Dying Young and The Bodyguard. Now we know how much of a massive seller The Bodyguard was. In 1992, he released Breathless, and we've got an official clip of Forever in Love below. This is a beautiful clip of love starting when they were just kids and enduring through life. An absolutely stunning video clip, really, in many ways, telling what is such a beautiful story to a beautiful melody. Breathless actually sold 15 million copies, and that particular song got Kenny G a Grammy Award. In 1994, the album Miracles came out. This is a Christmas album, sold 13 million copies. So, as I said at the start, he sold 75 million albums, making him one of the highest sellers of all time. With this perspective, Beatles sold 600 million, Elton John 300 million. And so, 75 million is very good for someone who not only can't sing really, but has collaborated with others. Between 1982 and 2023, there's been 16 studio albums, 1 EP, 3 live albums, a few compilation albums as you'd expect, and 41 singles. He's received an American Music Award out of 16 Grammy nominations between 1987 and 2011. Just get your head around that for a second. To be acknowledged by the industry over such a lengthy period of time is pretty amazing, and he's actually won one of those Grammy nominations. And so Kenny G well and truly has contributed to this collaborative legacy of this thing called music, and so it's great to be able to give him a bit of a tribute today. So the links to those 5 clips are in the description below, and I've also included my last video from Dean Lewis. If you want to recap on him, feel free. Well, if this is your first time at the Life Reflections through Music, or you've come back for another one, how great to see everybody here. So that's it for today. Next time we're going to get on to the band The Killers. So until then, I'll catch you around. Bye for now.